Hello, everybody. I am here today with an amazing guest, someone that I have known for quite a few years now. And we just had a conversation about starting a podcast or having one podcast on the schedule to just talk about life, business, entrepreneurship, Minneapolis, what kind of things we would say to our younger selves. But she is one of the coldest in the business, and you'll hear what business I'm talking about very soon. But we're going to just have a conversation between two friends. If we were to name this podcast anything, it would probably be the Aries, the double Aries sensation. Who knows? But I'm sure she'll have her own ideas about what it could be called. But I want to introduce you to my dear, dear friend, Damaris Hollingsworth.
Hello, De'Vonna.
Welcome to our set.
Thank you.
So as I said, today is going to be all about us just creating a space where we talk about all things life. And it's going to be, we're going to let our hair down. And it's two girlfriends talking. So I'll start with asking you to just tell us a little bit about you.
About me. So I have been here in the U.S. now for 20 years. I just realized that the other day. It has been actually 21. I started 2008 with a scholarship, and I was not sure I would stay or go back to Brazil. I'm from Brazil. And here I am 21 years later, and I could not have asked for a better life and a better experience. So I am an architect, born and raised in Brazil, São Paulo. Educated there as well, but then I came here for a grad school scholarship. And once I got here, it was a combination of things. So first of all, I fell for a boy. There's always a boy in the story. So I wanted to come back. I do want to just go to Brazil after finishing my semester. I want to go back. I want to come back here and live here. But there was also this, the dynamic of my profession was so different here. So I wanted to practice here. And I have been, in this architectural world as an employee for the first 16 years. And then now as a professional with my own business for the last 6. So I'm a mom. I am a life partner to Simon, and I am a friend and I entrepreneur and trying to make boss moves.
Boss, chick, every day, all day. So this is when I say dear friend, one of my dearest friends, like she is in my circle of 5. And she's the kind of person that I have dreamed of having as a friend and in my friend circle. So we wanted to have this conversation because every day we're doing our own things. We're both very, very busy.
Yeah.
And we make time for each other when we need to, but we're both very busy. And at the end of the day, we know that we are support systems for each other. So my next question for you, having seen you, even in these last 10 years, just go from being an employee to being an employer.
Yes.
What would you say to your younger self?
Well, my younger self had no idea I would be an entrepreneur. I did not want to be an entrepreneur, actually. My younger self wanted to climb the ladders of American corporate world and be a partner in some big firm. And she learned the hard way that it's not necessarily a friendly world for Black women, for women in general, but especially Black women with an accent. So I started realizing that I kept finding the same problems, different firms. So I get, okay, it's a different name, but same place. Because the culture is that, right? The culture in my industry is such. So I was faced with a choice to go for it and you try to make entrepreneurship work, knowing nothing about business. Because remember, we go to architecture school, we don't learn business, we learn how to do building. So, and my thought was this, okay, I can go for it. If it doesn't work, I can always find a job, right? Because that was one thing I never struggled with was finding jobs. So I was like, okay, I always find a job if this doesn't work. That was 6 years ago. So I would tell my young self is, trust your guts and your instincts. When they felt funny the first time and the second time, maybe that's the way things are going. I don't know if I should have started sooner because I think timing, life, and when you're guided by God and by, it's the right timing. But I can tell when I look back now, there was many cues that I could have seen sooner, that if what you're looking for, you won't be given, you might have to go create it. It took me a while to really hear that and go for it.
I love that. And you are literally creating it. Let's talk about actually what architects do, because we just see these buildings and we think, they draw a plan and people go out and they put these buildings up, and then, the contractors come in, and a few years later, the building stands. And so tell us a little bit about what architects do.
And my daughter says, so they pay you to draw? In summary, yes.
And I've seen a sketch. I've seen a sketch at your kitchen table, and you talk about these projects that you're doing. But what does that entail?
So it's a translation. I like to say that we are translators, because if you're a very experienced developer, you might have a good three-dimensional idea of what your vision is, but most people don't. And even some developers, they don't see three-dimensionally, which is not a requirement, by the way. And most people they cannot imagine something in real, like, three-dimensional view. So what we do is we hear you out. So when I have a new client, we have meetings and we talk about the vision, what you're thinking of. And sometimes it's as simple as an apartment building. So that is easy, right? Apartments, lobby. But sometimes it's something I want to create this experience. And that is what translation is needed, right? If you want to create an experience, if you want to have people to come to your space and do this or that and feel this way or that way, then that translation is for me to go in, okay, so if you want somebody to come and feel welcome and feel relaxed and they can hang out and meet people, what kind of space does that need? So we start translating those dreams and those visions into a program, which is a list of spaces that are needed. And then we go back and we start drawing it in a way that the circulation makes sense and the vision is delivered. And that is just the concept, right? Conceptual design, we call. From that to a building being even breaking ground, there are hundreds of pages of drawings required. And that's the thing people don't realize. Like, when you do a building like the one we're just building now, somebody's building of our drawings on Lake and Nicollet, like for PPL, it's 300 and some pages of drawings.
Wow.
Another book this big of specs, which is written specifications. So it takes from concept to what we call construction documentation, meaning if you're a contractor, you need to take a drawing and you need to be able to build a drawing with a drill, with all the layers, all the details, the connections, the vapor mitigation, everything has to be there, either drawn or spec'd in writing. And that's a lot of work. Like, to finish a building that big in drawings, it was about 8 to 9 months of full-time architects drawing it and engineers. So it is a lot of work, and what people usually see is the fun part, which is the conception, the big vision, and not the translation and the checks. It's this, no, it is that, but it's not this. From there to real building, it's a lot of work. And that's why sometimes they pay us the big bucks. Sometimes, not all the time.
Come on, big bucks. Big bucks. That is so interesting and so just fascinating to see how you light up when you talk about the work you do. I mean, you just went in talking about those 300 and some pages and drawings, and you lit up in a way that you don't when you're talking about food or dinner or where I need to be at or meetings.
Mm-hmm.
But so I just want to take us back a little bit and talk about when did you know that you wanted to be
an architect?
An architect.
It's interesting because it was not because of architecture. It was because of a woman. So I grew up in a very traditional family. We didn't do a low income inner city, but my dad was clearly the lead of the house and he went out work outside. My mom stayed with us, worked from home. She stayed with us. So I had never met a professional woman. And I don't think I even thought they existed, to be honest. Because even though we had a doctor, we had a dentist, but you don't really associate that. It's the professional. It's something that you see and you admire. And teachers were, of course, but I remember when I was 7 and my dad had this architect woman come over. And I was fascinated by her. She was super young. She was fresh out of college.
Mm-hmm.
Super young, well-dressed, and very well-spoken. And I think the dynamic of I didn't know at the time, but now when I look back, her presence, I know I didn't know what she did, right? I didn't know what she did. I heard later she was an architect, but when I was watching her from the corner, because I also could not go in there because it was not allowed for kids to come to adult conversation. So I watched her from afar. I don't know what she was talking about, but I saw her presence, and I wanted to be like her for some whatever reason. And I remember when she left, I went to find my parents right away. Hey, who is this woman? And oh, she's an architect. Oh, I want to be that. And they're like, you want to be an architect? Like, yeah, I want to be an architect. Okay. I have no idea what was that. So I always joke that if she was an accountant, I'll be an accountant. Thank God she was an architect. If she was anything, I would do whatever she was, because it was not a profession. It was her presence. I saw a shift in what I understood to be the woman place in a way. And I was like, I can do that. And I made my father and my mom find brochures for a school. I was 7, and show me where I could go. And they kept telling me that I couldn't go, actually, because we didn't have money for college. But I did not give up on it. I said, I'll find a way. And I became an architect. So it's another woman. Another woman got me. I don't know. It was an amusement or an admiration for her presence.
And look at you now.
Look at me now.
Look at you now. Yes.
Hopefully, I can inspire other girls to want to be like
You will. You will. You have.
Mm-hmm.
You have. Most definitely. And, you're very humble, and I love that about you. But you also have been on stages with thousands of people speaking, during your TED Talk. You did a TED Talk, and you did fabulous.
Thank you.
What was that like to even get to the point of not just stepping on the stage that night, but applying to present a TED Talk? And when you got the acceptance, what did that feel like?
That's the fun part. When I was recruited, they call it curated. I don't know how it's now, but back then you cannot actually apply. They had to find you. At least here in Minneapolis. So people came to my office, I'm not naming names, to recruit my former boss. Then as we talking, water tower kind of conversation, water cooler conversation, the guy who was there to talk to my former boss, like, you have a very interesting, can we have coffee? Interesting story, can we have coffee? Because, those people who are out there curating, they're asking some questions. They're not just talking to you. They're just they're interviewing you. You don't even know.
Right.
So, and I like talking. So he was like, can we have coffee sometime? And I like, sure. So we had coffee, and at the end of the coffee, like, well, if you don't mind, I'd like to propose that we have you in a TEDx Minneapolis next summer. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, well, we have 3 clear lines we could pursue, and I'd like to pitch 3 of them to my boss and see which one she likes. And that's what happened. He called me later, said a few weeks later, it's like, we're going with you and with your life story. And then that's what happened. And of course you're excited, yes, do this. And then it dawned on me like, oh, what again am I said yes to? So first of all, I have an accent, right? Which is still thick, even though I haven't been here for a while. And then there was the whole thing about, okay, I can talk about my life story like this, conversationally, but stand there and present to be like, and they're like, oh, we're not presenting, you're telling your story. And it took a minute for that actually to get to my spirit, because I was practicing almost like a pitch. And that was not flowing. And they offer you an amazing infrastructure, though. They have coaches for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I move a lot, you might have noticed. And so they have to coach me on that. We can move just a little. We cannot be dancing on the stage all over the place. There was some words I shouldn't use because of my accent. I cannot say them well, so they would rip them off. But the hardest part for me was to get to a point where it was my story to tell. So I didn't have to memorize it because it was in me. And that took about 3 to 5 months of practicing and really having people correct me and coach me and redirect me to get. So when you get to that stage, you have been coached and you have been practicing for so long that is second nature. And that's the goal. So when my microphone didn't work, for instance, we had to start over. It was fine.
I was there.
I was not freaking out. I was like, this thing's not working. So I had a teleprompter and the thing was going bananas. So I started laughing like, this thing is going crazy. Because that was my cue for the next topic. But you just go with it because you feel natural already because you have been ingrained in that conversation. And it was super fun because I almost quit though 2 weeks before I started realizing. They start telling numbers like 500 people in the audience plus 250 watching live online, and then you go to YouTube and they're like, oh, so it's gonna be forever. So yeah, but I am glad I did it. I haven't yet to watch the whole thing myself.
Wow. Well, I watched the whole thing.
Because I can't stand it.
I was there. I was sitting in the audience that day, and I was amazing.
I see every word I said wrong. We know how we are with ourselves. We always hide with ourselves. So yeah. I feel like I can't. I haven't tried it. But that's
yes. Well, you were fabulous.
Thank you.
You know, let's talk about this. I'm just going to soften things up a little bit. Let's talk about this amazing drink that you make that we all love so much. It's a Brazilian drink that she makes in her kitchen, and it takes a lot of labor, a lot of love.
Yes, yes.
So let's talk about it.
So this is a fun one because I'm from Brazil, of course, São Paulo, Brazil. But I have to tell you that I don't ever share this, but the first time I had caipirinha, I was here in the U.S. because I grew up Pentecostal and evangelical, so we didn't do anything fun. So when I moved to Arizona State with a full scholarship, 3 other Brazilian students, we had parties in the house, right? And I was charged with making the drink. So it was grad school, it was a bunch of grad school students, and we always have our parties. And I made my first caipirinha here out of a recipe that I still follow. And I have people who laugh about it. I follow a recipe because the ratio of lime to liquor to sugar is what makes it so good. If you go too strong on the liquor, too strong on the lime, it's not the same. So now every single party we have, I make caipirinha. Every time I go home, I bring liters and liters, a whole suitcase full of cachaça wrapped in towels so they don't break. And I have a full stash at home. And we make them, and every party we have, we buy beer, we buy wine, we buy other liquor, like as in our birthday party. Nobody touches anything but the caipirinha.
That's right. It's so good.
And it's fun.
Yeah. Even when I say I'm never drinking again, I get to her house, she makes the caipirinha.
And you drink it.
And I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, it calls you.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So she made it at my house one night, and she was like, I'm going to leave the ingredients here so you can make it whenever you want it. And I will tell you, I will not be making it. I will wait for you to come over, and you can make it.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So I'm going to need it.
You are. Always. What is one thing that you would tell women who are running their own businesses, entrepreneurs, to stop doing?
Stop doubting yourself. I think that whole, I think centering yourself, and I'm a faith person, so I believe in hearing from God or hearing from the universe, whatever you call it. But you have to trust that more and not second guess that, because I feel like every time I have lean away, for instance, something makes me feel afraid, but still I have peace. That's when I started my business. I was so afraid, but I had such a peace in my heart that was ridiculous. Like the contrast was like, I had 2 job offers that made me freak out. I had a stomach pain. And then I had this business. I had never done a business before. I didn't know if I knew how to be a business owner. I didn't have any clients. Yeah, I have heard horror stories about it takes 2 years to land a first project, and I was the breadwinner of my household. So I'm like, why does this give me so much peace when the 2 jobs that are very good job with benefits make me freak out and have like physical reaction? So I started to learn to trust that peace. So when I say center yourself and hear that and don't doubt it, that's what I mean. That your spirit knows, because especially if you're accepting a calling for your life, there is something inside of you that's telling you, but you need to be quiet enough, in a sense of not be stressed, not giving room to human anxiety, so you can actually feel that and hear that and trust that.
All right. I love that. Alignment. It's all about alignment and how we align ourselves with the things that we were called to do. And obviously you have done that. You have landed in a soft spot. You know, the people who know your story and where you come from, there's a small group of people who do. They know that, and they can see that you landed in a soft spot. And so I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. Let's just kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about friendship. What does friendship mean to you?
I think we're talking about alignment, right? It's a nice segue to that because I feel like we met because of that, right? Not necessarily business, but I remember we had something in common, right? Self-love, self-care in common, which is why we're part of the same running club. And that running club, with my passion for fitness that I still have, got us to see each other, right? We saw each other. And there's something there about strong women not being afraid of one another that definitely happened there. So when I first met you, it was like, whoa, it's like gravity. Everything falls to her. And I love that versus, I don't like it, right? I was infatuated in a way. For like this, like the woman in my dad's kitchen, right? It was like this, that is something that I admire and I'm not afraid of. I've actually wanted to get close to. And when we had coffee for the first time, because of the fitness interest in both of us sides, we decided, let's have coffee. It was an immediate thing about, okay, we are cool, we're strong, we are, can you say badass? Badass, and we are we are okay with each other's strength and each other's beauty, each other's confidence. So I think that's friendship. It's some alignment of spirit and values, but that has a part of it that I think is beyond us. Because I have known other women that are strong and amazing that I think is amazing, but there's not a click, I'll say. But there's something about our spirits that just like, blink. And I think that is what makes a friendship so strong. Because it's almost like God assignment. I think it's an assignment. I feel like the universe has chosen us to be friends. And I think if it is somebody who sees you, friendship needs to be that. Somebody who sees you, somebody who uplifts you, tells you the truth. You need to be able to, like, girl, listen, come in the corner.
Yes.
But tell me, your whatever showing. Like, just say so. And I think we have been to phases that we are not as connected because we both had agreed that phase was when we were not in our spirit either. Remember when we had a conversation? When we drifted slightly, we never not talked, not being close, but there was a small distance and we were like, I was not in my best. And once we drift back to where our spirit should be, we naturally drift back together. It's kind of interesting and nice.
Yeah. Good friends, keep them close. And I already just, described what our relationship is like. We're more like sisters than friends. And when you know that you're able to say something to someone, that's not always easy.
It's hard when the person saying so, I would say.
Right.
The person listening, maybe not. But I think it's so hard to say.
Yeah.
Some truths to say.
But that's love. That's love. I mean, you lead the moment and we're both better for it.
Yeah.
You hear it and you get up and you move. We don't have the kind of relationship where we say something to each other and we get upset and now we're no longer friends.
No.
That's not true friendship. And that's what we've discovered as adults, adult women. And understanding that when I met you, I was like, this damn girl is fine. Like, oh my gosh, she is. And she works out every day, all day, and she pushes me. She's a workout fanatic now. I'm not at her level, nor will I probably ever be at her level. But I'm so, maybe, we'll see. But I'm so inspired by you. And that's how we met, because I was inspired and I wanted to be better. I wanted to join their running club and be a part of feeling better, living longer, being healthy. And when I met you that day in the coffee shop, I was like, wow. But I didn't get jealous. I didn't think like, oh my God, I'm not, or I was just thinking like, I want to be just like that. I want to be just as committed to my health goals as she is. And then we realized our birthdays were one day apart. And so now we celebrate our birthdays together every year. So to me, it's just an honor to be your sister, to be your friend, and to see you grow your business because you didn't have the business when we first met.
No.
And I've seen the fruits of your labor. I've seen your challenges. And what you have done for me is to encourage me to keep going on this entrepreneurial path.
Likewise.
So
Your confidence, your slowness. Like I remember when you were running for office and I would watch you and nowadays I was like, it's the way it just flows. And then people follow. I love it. I love it.
I just needed 100 more people to bring 10 people and we couldn't have done it. But it happened for a reason. And here I am today, sitting on a podcast with you, talking about Nature Seer Beauty and Melo Designs.
Designed by Melo.
Yeah. Designed by Melo.
Yeah.
What is your, everybody should have this song that they walk onto the stage with to kind of, open up the heavens when you walk on the stage. So if you had to have a song, what would that song be?
Okay, I have two in mind that I haven't been to use yet. When they asked me once what the song was, we didn't use it for whatever reason. But that's the Guarding Me from Mary Mary. I love that song. And then another one is that This Girl Is on Fire. I blast that winger and I sing it to myself. This girl is on fire.
I love it.
And that song is interesting because people only play that part, but the rest of it is also very true. It's lonely. It's a lonely world. It is interesting. Like people are like, okay, yeah, for it to be that on fire, you need to be ready for the other part too.
Isn't that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
That's so true.
It burns sometimes, but it's okay.
It does. Well, what is one thing that you want to share with the audience right now? Anyone could be listening, maybe youth, women, of course women, because we are women, and we want women to know that they can do anything that they set their minds to do. But if there was one thing that you haven't mentioned yet, what would that be?
I think find your village, find your group of women. I think that is not only important in your industry, like your peer group, but I think like this, something that a place where you can go, a safe place where you can come and talk about this struggle. But I think find your center, finding your calling, your mission, because it's gonna be what keeps you standing because it's hard, right? It's like every 2-week payroll is like, oof. But when you remember your why, and you remember the calling that you accepted, and what can you do with it, and how far can you go, and how many people can you impact, that keeps you centered. So find that calling, and it's not as easy. I remember having a major struggle with that in my 20s. Like, what is my calling then? Like, why is it? And really observing your body. I remember my pastor actually in Phoenix told us, he had a whole series about your mission and your calling. And he's like, that one thing that you do even if nobody paid you to do. And to that point, design was already that, but I could not reconcile being an architect, because usually architects are hired only by rich and powerful, right? And it's just, if that's my calling, how come this only serves my own personal purpose? Yes, but also only the powerful rich. So I had a conflict there, and I couldn't understand it. But when he was asking those questions, like, what is the one thing that when you start doing, you don't want to go to bed, you don't want to cook dinner, you don't want to go get the kid for school, you just want to do it. And it has always been design for me. It was not until I moved here from Brazil and then to actually start working in the North Minneapolis community, that I've realized, oh my gosh, yes, I can 100% use my profession to serve people, not just the rich and powerful. And that's when the finally clicked. This is my calling, because it is bigger than me, and yes, I can serve people in the communities that are not already being served. So that is something that is important. Step number 1, find your calling, because once you have that, you put everything on top of it, and then find your village of women or your village of people who you can come back to and debrief and reset.
Amazing. What I love most about what you're doing, what Designed by Milo is doing, for me, is wrapped all in values, impact, and inclusive spaces. And I love when you tell your story because it's more about creating a building, less about creating a building, but creating a building. But that social impact piece, when you walk in the room, you are literally, your requirements are that these spaces have to be inclusive. And you have a daughter who is just as brown as we both are. You know, what would you say to her as she's moving into these spaces? And like, what is your absolutes when you are creating spaces?
For my daughter, I think she's 11, so she's young, and I'm softening into helping her realize that she won't be welcome in all spaces. And that has been the hardest thing for me to experience. When you don't welcome me, I just, whatever, you're lost, move on. But what is your kid? I have the hardest moments feeling it for her. So I think knowing the industry I'm in and also the world we're in is important that she understand that and does not internalize that. And that is the hard lesson for especially young women, because they automatically think it's them. Something I'm not, something I'm missing. So I have been easily showing her that's why the work I do is important, because you're not always going to be considered or welcomed or made to feel comfortable in places. But when I'm doing work, I think it's less about the space, more about who I'm doing for. When I started my business the first year, I had the worst experiences accepting projects from developers who did not care about community. And that was hard. And I needed the paycheck. I needed the fees. I needed to feed my kid. I was just reversed. So I was like, I took the work, counting the days when I could finally say no to some work. Then now again. But at the time, it literally felt like I was prostituting my skills and my talent, because I was told not to talk to community. If they ask you directly a question, don't answer, because it is something that, in their perspective, community doesn't know. We developers, we know the bottom line. You don't have to talk about anything else with them. And I'm thinking, you're building a building here in the middle of the neighborhood that are things you're taking that you cannot help but take. When you do development, you're going to increase cars, you're going to increase people. That's a given, but can you give something back? And can you at least talk about it, right? It's the least you can do is to have a conversation and to understand the impact you're creating and not being able to do that. So that was hard. So I think for me now, I will make sure the people I'm working for as an architect make space for that.
Amen. Amen. And we need people like you in those positions. How many Black architects exist in the state of Minnesota?
Yes.
Nationwide? What does that number look like?
So nationwide, it's still not even 2%. So we have this over 110,000 licensed architects in the country. Less than 2% are Black. Less than 0.5% are Black women. So we're just about 500 Black women architects. So I'm one of 530-something, which is insane. Here in Minnesota, gosh, it's like a handful only of us.
Wow.
We always joke when we are out together and say shit like that, spread out, because if they're old fellas, now we don't want all that together. It's that little. It's like a small little tiny group of 10 feet in small living room. It's crazy, yeah.
Wow. So I met your parents.
Yes, you did.
And they're so adorable.
Thank you.
And, they are very much so Pentecostal. So I'm on this Pentecostal behavior when your parents are around.
Were you nice Pentecostal outfit? I don't remember.
I struggle with that. I struggle with that part. But I was trying to be on my best Pentecostal behavior.
Okay.
Around your parents.
So that praise party, you'll be happy.
I know. Amen. Hallelujah. Praise God. What are your parents? I mean, when they think about the 7-year-old girl who asked that question in the living room that day, and they see how this story has just unraveled and where you are now, what do they say?
They say, praise God. Literally. When I tried to get my dad to get excited, because I remember the first time I was driving down 35, that's recently, and the PPL building's coming up, right? So took him a little while for him to see it from the freeway. So I'm like, with my driving, and then with the phone here, I can even see if I'm catching. When I want to see this, I want to sound like that. And then my daughter's like, can you just wait until Mr. Simon's driving so you can do like good idea? So then I record one day my way down 35 so we can see the building showing up, right? The whole 7 or 6 story building showing up.
Wow.
And I sent to my dad, and Dad, look, it says that designed by Mel, it's your name. And he's like, praise to God. I'm like,
oh,
yeah, it's your name.
oh,
I designed it. It's your name. Of course, praise to God. Of course, I know who got me here. But can you be excited? And I know they are, but in no ways they cannot not shift everything to God. Like, I cannot take credit. Especially from the struggle they went through. My mom did not have a food to eat, right, growing up. So for them to be from they started to here, it's like, it has to be God. I agree. But they won't take credit. They won't get excited because they really give all the praise to God. Yeah. And I remember the day my dad stopped telling me I couldn't have something. I want to go to the University of São Paulo. Can't do it because people that go there are not like us. They go to the that I made University of São Paulo. Took 3 trials, but I got in. And I said, I want to go overseas. They're like, of course you do, but we won't do that because all this things, reasons why we can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the day I got in. Oh, I made my passport. I got my passport done, even though I didn't have any place to be or go. And my dad, one day we laughed, looking at me in the car, he just picked up my passport. He's like, I don't know what you're making that for. And because I'm going to have all these pages stamped. He's like, you keep dreaming things that we can really provide for you. Like, I'm not asking you to, right? There's God. So anyhow, a year later, I called him and I said, Dad, guess what? Like, what? Remember that passport? He's like, you gonna get a stamp? Like, uh-huh. I had just been accepted to the program to come here to the U.S.
Wow.
And that was the last time he told me I couldn't do something. After that, he's like, you know what? You said you would do it, so you're doing it. And my passport was fully stamped very quickly. And I showed it to him like, I told you. I had a passport already. But yeah, I think they have, I'll never not believed. It was never a personal thing that you can, it was a fear. And they said every time, I don't want it to break your heart. I don't want it to, and I broke my heart many times. Like when I went 3 times to get into the school, I broke my heart every time, and I cried, and I cried, and I felt it. And then I went back and tried again, and I cried again. And then I passed, and I cried again because I passed, because I was happy now. I was a happy cry. But their concern was always that, why? Why do you keep aiming so high and so much more than we can give you? And I think my base for wanting was never what they could give me, right? And I think that was a disconnect because you take me to church 4 times a week because that's how I grew up, okay? And I keep hearing this thing about I can do all things. So can I do all things or cannot? Because you need to tell me if I can do all things, but except for University of São Paulo, go overseas, learn another language. I don't see that part. I only hear that one part that says I can do all things. So I decided to go for all things. And I think when they heard me say, I want this, they always thought, how am I going to possibly give this to you? But it was never on them. I was never putting a load on them. I was putting a request on to God. And that was the difference. And when they realized that it's not about what you can give me, it's about what can be accomplished with faith and work, and they stopped doubting it. And they stopped telling you can't. And they say, you know what? You say so. That's what he says. If you say so, go ahead and try it.
That is so profound. Just this idea that when you put something out into the universe, God hears you, and people, faith, even when we look at a mustard seed, if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, there are seeds that are smaller than a mustard seed.
Yep.
I'm a gardener, so I see seeds that are smaller than a mustard seed. So you really don't need to have that much faith, but you got to have some faith. Yeah. And you have shown them, and hopefully, they believe bigger.
They believe bigger now. And I feel like even the reason why you're wanting it, because I keep thinking about being a little girl in our this home. I remember being in front of my mirror in the bathroom and pretending I was speaking English, and I didn't speak it. But yeah, and that was me imagining myself speaking to an audience in English. I did not know English. We did not have TVs because it was a scene as well. So I never seen that anywhere. So how did I imagine that? So I really think God puts those desires, right? So when they come out, it's not just you making all stuff. It's a seed that is there because it's part of what you need for a purpose to be fulfilled. So when you say it out loud, it's not the first time it existed, right?
Yeah.
It's there already. And I remember doing that with my calm, and I couldn't speak English, so I had to make up a language in the mirror. And I was imagining myself speaking to some audience in another language, like who, from where did I took that from? And when I did my TEDx, I was like, here I am speaking to an audience.
Wow.
When I do my keynote, so I always think about it. And for the longest time, I would still have moments like, am I really understanding every word they're saying? Because at first I didn't. I went to church, I'd be like, not even the Bible books are the same. So I don't even know what you're talking about. But you start absorbing it, and here I am now. I can understand every word.
Every word. And you taught yourself to speak English.
I did.
And how long did that take?
Not long, because when you're immersed, I had like major headaches, but 3.5 months, I was speaking.
Wow.
Speaking enough to be understood, and reading and understanding everything. I could read and I could understand. But speaking was a lot harder, a little harder to be understood. Because, we talk about Brazilians, we put an E at the end of every word. Like, internet, Wi-Fi, we have like iPhone.
Really?
Go to Walmart.
Oh. That's how you guys talk?
That's how we talk.
Wow.
So when we start speaking English, we also do that. We say every word. So people will be like looking like, sounds like, for instance, I could never say the word sculpture in any structure because I had to say every word, and it's not possible to say every word. You have to like say little, right? And I remember in my field, I had to say structural engineer a lot. So I had to say the engineer who calculates the foundation. We need the mechanical, electrical, and engineer who calculates the foundation to be the meeting, because I couldn't say structural for a couple of years. So we started learning, and immersion is the best way because you have no choice but to speak.
So, girl, friend, this has been so incredible, just taking the time to have this conversation with you, to hear all about, your business, how you grew, how you started, and just the very thought of becoming an architect when you were 7 years old. I learned some things today. I should say I gained some profound wisdom from you today, and I always do. But today, you almost had me in tears interviewing you, girl. And this has just been a treat. So thank you so much for being here with me on the couch, having this authentic conversation about entrepreneurship, life. I wanted to dig more into the life thing, but you're such a boss chick. You just kind of have to stay there. Mm-hmm. With that, can you tell people how to contact you and where they can find you?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram on Damaris Melo Speaks. Also, you can Google my business, www.designbymelo, which is MELO.com. Or you can find me on Facebook, Damaris Melo Speaks as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.